And good morning, everybody. It's September 15th, 2020 and 9:03 hours. And welcome to the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting and work session. I am by way of, if you'd like to join us, by the way, by conference call, the phone number is 360-252-9020 and your PIN number is 1234. And by way of introductions, I'm John Hutchings, the chair of the board. Also present is Vice Chair Commissioner Ty Menser, and Commissioner Gary Edwards is in the boardroom, along with the County Manager Romero Chavez. And I don't know, is the Assistant County Manager with us this morning?
No, that I see.
Okay. We have Public Health Director Shelley Slaughter, our Thurston County Health Officer Dr. Demiana Abdulmalik. We have our Homeless Coordinator Keely Marino, Emergency Management Services Director Kurt Barton, our County Treasurer Jeff Gadman, our County Auditor Mary Hall, and Romero, who am I missing?
We have staff is Teresa Parsons, Matt Unselman, Lydia Hutchinson, Thomasina Cooper, Brett Burris, Chris Hawkins, Craig Sisson, Becky Com, Dennis Osorio, Tom Webster, and Lucy Mills.
Wow, thank you. Quite a few, good. So with that, we're going to begin with, we have a full agenda today, agenda about the agenda. We're going to start with a COVID-19 update.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shelley Slaughter, Director of Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. And I have some encouraging news to share with you this week. We have seen across the state and reflected in Thurston County a downward trend in cases. Statewide, as of yesterday, there have been 80,138 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Washington state. Unfortunately, with 2,006 that have lost their lives to this disease. Here in Thurston County, we stand at 1,095 cases, again, as of yesterday, with 51 of those cases occurring in the last 7 days. We've had 15 deaths, none in this last week. There have been 78 Thurston County residents hospitalized due to COVID complications since this pandemic began, and 2 new cases hospitalized this week. 907 people have been released from public health isolation and quarantine, with 46 of those occurring in the last week and able to return back to their normal lives, although we don't know yet what the long-term impacts are going to be of this illness. Our percent positivity rate is right down at the target where we want it to be now, with 2% positivity rate. In terms of outbreaks, we've had 9 outbreaks to date in congregate care facilities. We're still investigating 5 currently. Dr. Abdulmalik may share more about that momentarily. And we've had no new outbreak cases this week. The Thurston County Correctional outbreak is considered to be over. In terms of our local hospital capacity, 74.5% of our local hospital beds in Thurston County are currently occupied. That's about standard for this time of year. 11 COVID patients are currently hospitalized at either Capital Medical Center or Providence St. Peter's Hospital. That represents 2.3% of their licensed beds. Not all of those COVID patients are Thurston County residents. Since July, the demographic with the largest number of cases, with 42% of our cases, is occurring in 25 to 49-year-olds at this point. And with that, I will pass it to Dr. Abdulmalik to share additional information.
Thank you, Shelley. Welcome, Doc.
Thanks. Good morning, Commissioners. Dr. Demiana Abdulmalik, Thurston County Health Officer. We are seeing some encouraging trends both in Thurston County and across the state. In the past week, we've had 40 new cases, and our transmission rate, so cases per 100,000 of population over the past 14 days is 35.7. So this is all very, very encouraging. We have been working with our community partners in long-term care facilities, and we are in the process of closing a number of our outbreaks that have been under investigation. So that trend is very encouraging. Looking at our numbers over the past week, I'm seeing some trends in how people are getting COVID-19 in our community. Over the past week, people have identified other household members as a major way that people are getting COVID, as well as meeting with family and friends. With many fewer people attending social events and getting COVID that way. And this is just looking at our past week. About half of our folks who tested positive in the past week have identified a known contact. So when they became sick, they said, "Oh, I know somebody who also has COVID and have been in contact with them." So that's how COVID has been spreading in our community recently. It's people who know people and coming into contact with them. I have been getting a lot of questions about our schools. I'm watching our transmission rates really closely, and I am looking at our local patterns of spread. In July, when we made the decision to start with remote learning, some of that rise in cases that led to that decision came from the 4th of July holiday and the gatherings that occurred at that time. So I'm waiting for a full incubation period after Labor Day to see what our trajectory is going into fall, and would be making recommendations based on what that likely disease trajectory is. I know this is a really sensitive issue and really essential to our community, and that so many folks are deeply affected by this. I really want to make sure that when we do resume in-person instruction, that the timing is right and that our community is ready, and that everyone has what they need to stay safe and healthy. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Doctor. Any questions for Dr. Demiana Abdulmalik or for Shelley Slaughter?
Yes, Edwards here. Would it be safe to say that all 15 of the residents that have died with very severe underlying conditions, including age?
Do I need to point?
That's okay. I'll jump in. I was Dr. Abdulmalik, unless you have something to say. Not all of the residents that have died indicated to us that they had an underlying condition. Many were in the older adult category, over age 65, and the demographic that we know to be high risk, but not all were.
Not all were over 65?
No, sir.
No, okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
Unmute there. For Dr. Abdulmalik, thank you for the update with regard to schools. And I see a lot of the stuff that you see. And I know you got an email, and I think the commissioners were copied. And it was somebody who was asking for some sort of written criteria related to reopening schools. And she made reference, I think it was a she, made reference to some other jurisdictions that had done that and others that hadn't. And I was just wondering, is that a thing? Is that something that's needed or not needed? Or what was your, I don't know if you saw that correspondence yet or not. I just was wondering whether that was something that was coming, or is that's not something that we should be doing because things are changing so quickly. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
So indicators and metrics are extremely good goalposts and guideposts. So transmission rates, hospital capacity, positive test rates, and our community capacity for effective case investigations and contact tracing are all really significant parts of how we can facilitate safe reopening and continue to monitor our progress once that occurs. In all of the guidance, there are allowances made for local conditions and local context. So in terms of, seeing a rapid or alarming rise in cases, or if there's something about the local context that makes it unsafe for in-person instruction, those would all have to be factored in as well. So the key indicators that have been mentioned, are definitely important to have those, but we also need to remain flexible and kind of look at our county and what's happening in our county, as well as we kind of make our decisions and monitor our situation going forward.
Has there been any change? I know you made your decision, and then a short time after that, the state made a strong recommendation, not requiring it, but basically a strong recommendation right in line with your decision. And I'm wondering if there's been any noise at the state level that maybe I missed about when they are going to change that recommendation or add to it, or has there been any news updates from the state on that point of school reopening, school policy?
So the state does review its guidelines and actually did re-review it actually, I believe, at the beginning of September, but no significant changes in the framework were made at that time.
Thanks.
Doctor, I have a question for you. And you've advocated, I believe you have in the past, to still get a flu shot this season. And so with that, I went into my pharmacist over the weekend and was told they have a basic flu shot. Then they have one that's supersized for people of my demographic. So I don't know if it's got energized bunnies in it or something, but they were out of those. And she said, you can go ahead and get this basic one, or next week, wait until we get the supply in for that higher dose or higher strength, whatever it is. Can you explain what those are and what's your thoughts? I know people are watching and we want to encourage them to get flu shots.
Yeah, so I would like to encourage everyone watching to get your flu shot this year. It is absolutely essential that we protect ourselves as much as possible from vaccine preventable respiratory illnesses. As far as the two different types of flu shots, there is one that is made to create an increased immune response. And that's the one that we traditionally use for folks who are older than 65, as well as the kind of the baseline flu shot. I would say that getting any flu shot is better than none, and getting the appropriate flu shot is, of course, optimal. So I would like to encourage everyone to really think about flu and get their flu shot this year.
But you don't need both.
No, you definitely do not need both.
Okay, good. Anybody else have any questions for the doctor or for Shelley? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we're moving on to homeless strategies, and we have our homeless coordinator, Keely Marino, in the house. Yay. Good morning, Keely.
Good morning.
Let us have it.
Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. I have a number of items today. I'll start with the easiest first. Today, I have a report from the Community Action Council on their eviction prevention and rental assistance program that they have now 439 appointments that have been made. They've spent out $248,188 in rental assistance, and that's going towards 83 households. That accounts for 172 future months of rent and 77 back months of rent. So they're cooking. They're working really hard and getting as many people in as possible to get those funds out to those who need it. So I just really want to shout out to Community Action Council for their good work. In other news, as you all know, the air quality has been very poor. And so last week, the Hazardous Weather Task Force made a recommendation for a declaration for a 3-day hazardous weather event. When a hazardous weather event is recommended, Director Slaughter and Dr. Abdulmalik decide whether or not to move forward with that recommendation and to make a formal declaration. A formal declaration did transpire, and we were able to stand up extra shelter beds at the First Christian Church that is operated by Interfaith Works. They were able to offer 15 additional beds over the weekend, starting at entering people at 5 p.m. and they could stay until 8 a.m. in the morning. The census was fairly low, which is consistent with short-term notice on a hazardous weather event declaration. 3, 7, and 3 were the numbers of people who were able to stay overnight in that shelter. And then last night we extended it. I have not received the census on how many people stayed at Interfaith last night. I assume that it is probably higher, as it tends to trend up as people learn that it's an option. City of Olympia and Catholic Community Services also, on their own volition, stood up a daytime center for better air quality at the Olympia Center. Catholic Community Services provided the staff, and then City of Olympia provided the space in room 100 at the Olympia Center. And they were able to operate between noon and 5 p.m. for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They had a fairly low turnout, and so they haven't reopened it, but it is an option. If there's a community need, then we can hopefully just switch on the light, and I can communicate with City of Olympia and Catholic Community Services to see if we can stand that right back up. Yesterday also was a surprising day. I responded to a request to go out to the Tumwater Camp that was on port property near the Oyo Hotel. The sheriff's office was asked to come and help clean that camp very suddenly. Those situations are always stressful, even if there's many days of warning that they're about to happen. And I was able to work together with the City of Olympia through their homeless coordinator, Community Action Council. Mitch Mitchell came out to do some coordinated entry. Family Support Center's outreach coordinator, Julian, was there. Just Housing Olympia provided 2 vans to get 2 people's belongings down to Union Gospel Mission. So I just wanted to make a shout out to those agencies for their swift response. They were able to negotiate and handle a very spontaneous event with grace and ease. And then especially the sheriff's office demonstrated tremendous patience and kindness. They were courteous, professional, and direct, and were there all day long. So I just want to say, in a not perfect situation, it went as well as could be expected. All other residents were offered hotel rooms, and they are there for the next 2 nights. And we're attempting to make sure that they have service connection by tomorrow when that voucher ends, and so that they can get connected to services. And that's my report for the day.
Commissioner, before
Yes.
you ask for questions, if you give me a couple of minutes related to the last item Keely just mentioned, I received an email this morning from Lieutenant Carla Carter, and I believe she was leading the effort from the Sheriff's Office on the Tumwater site. And she states to me, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the response of Keely Murno on the 75th Avenue Southwest yesterday. Keely amplified the dignity, respect, and humane treatment of everyone in the scene. It is obvious that Keely is networked and connected to effective resources within our community. Keely demonstrated agility, flexibility, problem solving, and most importantly, doing the right thing for the right reasons. What I have seen over the years is Keely standing in the gap, becoming a bridge, and always holding the truth of the situation is paramount. She does this in the face of adversity and confusion. Keely was able to offer choices and transition to vulnerable people. So I responded back to Lieutenant Carter, stating that I wholeheartedly agree with her statements And from my point of view, I have the utmost respect for Keely and appreciation for everything what she does to the citizens of the county who are the most in need. Thank you, Keely.
Wow, thank you so much.
Beautifully written. Are there any questions of Keely? Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
This incident took place in the city of Tumwater, didn't it?
It did.
So why wasn't Tumwater there instead of the sheriff using his resources?
I don't know if I'd be able to answer that question, and I haven't heard from Tumwater.
I might be able to. I don't know if I have the definitive answer, if you'll let me. When I was with the city of Olympia, Olympia jurisdiction was right up to the fence of the port proper downtown. And anything inside the fence or on port property was the jurisdiction of the sheriff. So this being the airport, it's port property. I don't know if that same rule applies there.
I had a conversation with the executive director of the Port of Olympia yesterday when she was giving me all that information related to this, those activities. She did mention to me they did send a request to the city of Tumwater for their assistance, and the city of Tumwater kindly declined that offer. And she offered, I got a copy of the letter the Mayor Komet sent that to the port. If you'd like to see that letter, I'll be more than happy to distribute that to you.
I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Well, it sounds like that I mean, I had the same question, but it sounds like that the Tumwater's response was not based on a jurisdictional issue that Commissioner Hutchins is describing. It was more based on the policy issue from the council. Is that what I'm hearing, Romero?
Yes, I don't have, if you give me a minute, I can probably read the letter to you if you like, but I
Well,
can
I mean,
just.
I can look at it. I'm just asking, it doesn't sound like that it doesn't sound like the Tumwater police were taking the position that sheriff's got to do it. It's not our,
No, it was not a jurisdictional issue, at least from my read of that letter.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yep.
Is that a long letter?
2 pages.
Okay, I'll read it later, then you have to read it.
Okay,
But I'd like to see that too. That was my first question when you notified me, was why is the sheriff doing that? But I'm gonna go right back to Keely first and say, if I can get the thing to spin. Well-deserved kudos from Lieutenant Carter, and the same thing for Lieutenant Carter. She is absolutely dynamite. She's a dynamite human being. But you called it a surprising day. That was your word, surprising day. Is that because you got late notification, like at the last minute?
I believe there were many comments going back and forth from those of us who are responding that we didn't anticipate our day going in the direction that it went.
So Olympia and Family Support Center and Just Housing and such, did you have any time to prepare for this? Or was it just like dumped on your lap at the last minute and, hey, we're doing it, need your help?
I responded immediately to a request from County Manager Ramiro Chavez, and I was on my phone a lot.
So kind of the backstory is this is also for the county manager. Hearing about it, recognizing the magnitude of this, and people involved in putting systems in place to help these poor folks to get some shelter and get housed. How many did you found places to live then?
It was unclear with everyone how many people actually were residing out there. There was accounting from 6 to 12 individuals. So I was never able to land on a number of how many people had been living out there. But there were about 6 individuals that went into hotel rooms yesterday.
No, that's good. Good, okay. And great coordination. And again, congratulations on that letter from Lieutenant Carter. It's well deserved, and she deserves one as well.
Oh, she got one.
And so does the county manager for keeping us together for the county. Anything else for Keely? Anybody?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to thank Keely for all of her effort, but I would also like to recognize the sheriff for stepping forward and dealing with a tough situation when it seemed like others did not want to deal with it. So.
All right.
If I may, I really, I've been at many camp cleanups, and I was so impressed with how the sheriff's office responded. They were very professional and courteous, and I sent them a letter of thanks also today.
As they would, because they're the top law enforcement agency in the county. And it speaks well of them. It does. Thank you, Keely.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to review this afternoon's agenda for the BoCC meeting. It includes, at the end of the meeting, 2 public hearings. One on the IT performance audit and the other on the 6-year transportation improvement program or plan. So we're going to call the meeting to order at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Commissioner Menser. Approval of the agenda and approval of the minutes from prior meetings. And then we go into a presentation. The first one is emergency services.
Yes, commissioners, sorry. This afternoon is going to be for you to consider a proclamation for National Preparedness Month. This is the month of September 2020. And this is a national effort to encourage the citizens to be prepared in case of the emergency. There is a few themes every week, which started last week. And I'm going to let Kurt Harding to walk you through, as opposed to me steal his thunder.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Harding, Director of Emergency Services. I'm working through a worked around system for Zoom this morning, and my staff tell me I can touch 3 buttons. So that's why you've seen my picture all morning so far. But what I want to talk a little bit about is September is National Preparedness Month. And for this resolution, we're looking at, and we do this every year, but it's more important and more critical this year. As you've already heard some of the updates on the pandemic, but also, if everybody remembers, we had a flood in January and early February, and the Nisqually River flooded. And we also had just last week some fires down in South County. You had a fire take place, and we had evacuations taking place. So I can't overemphasize that this is really critical for people to be prepared. And so, as we like to, the theme of this month is disasters don't wait. Make your plan today. And 2020 seems to be trying to get us as many disasters as we can fit in. So the National Preparedness Month recognizes each September and provides an opportunity to remind us all we must prepare ourselves, our families, our neighborhoods now and throughout the year. We break it down into weekly themes. September 1st to the 5th of week 1 was make a plan. Week 2, September 6th through the 12th was build a kit. Week 3, September 13th to the 19th is prepare for disasters. And week 4, September 20th through the 26th is prepared youth make for a more prepared community. One of the things that we're also doing is we do outreach, and we're following social media. We're using traditional outreach. We're following the FEMA communications plan as well. We are sharing and encouraging people to participate in the state webinars hosted by the statewide public education group. And then we're going to do something new this year. Every year we've had a Thurston County Emergency Preparedness Expo. This year, we're going to take that and make it a virtual Emergency Preparedness Expo on Saturday, September 26th. That's being sponsored by the Thurston County Emergency Management Council. And then we're doing Zoom meetings with neighborhoods and Zoom Map Your Neighborhood training. So now I'm going to try to do something that the staff told me I can touch one more button to see if this will come up. And what you hopefully should see is our website, our phone number for Thurston County Emergency Management that's coming up on my screen.
Yeah, can you read it? Because it's difficult to read, Kurt.
I don't see it. You disappeared.
Okay. Then it didn't come up as well as I had hoped it would. Stand by and I will read it off for you. This is a work in progress. It's Thurston County Emergency Management website. It's HTTPS. It's www.thurstoncounty.gov/em/pages. And if you go to the county website, there's a link there for the Thurston County Emergency Management website. That's how you can link into our expo fair and also our other activities we're taking place in for preparedness.
Oh, very nice. Oh, you're back again.
Back again. So,
did you have anything else to add?
Nothing else to add. I will work with staff to see if we can get this this slide up on at the big screen there for this afternoon.
Okay. Any questions or comments of Kurt? Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Commissioner Menzer?
No.
But it gives me comfort to have you at the helm, Kurt. Thank you very much, and hope you had a good vacation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now that takes us to agenda number one, or item number one on the agenda, and that's the opportunity for the public to address the board.
Thank you, Commissioners. You may be receiving public testimony related to the Black Lake Special Use District. You have received for the last couple of weeks correspondence from members of the public related to this district. I am hopefully today I'll finalize my response to some of the letters, some of the emails and some of the concerns they had, at least from my point of view. But in the latest public emails that we have received has evolved into not necessarily urging the board not to approve the rates, the additional fees and charges to, as the special use district requested. And perhaps the comments that you will be receiving this afternoon is for you to consider dissolving the special use district and for you to form a lake management district. You know, that is a little bit of a different perspective. Just to let you know, the county does not create lake management districts on their own, as the county does not create special use districts on their own. The special use districts and the lake management districts is a request by a group of citizens who would like to form those districts. And there is a procedural steps, according to the law, the Board of County Commissioners need to take in order to form those districts, which includes the vote of those individuals who are affected by the formation of those districts. So anyways, I just give you a perspective. We'll see what some of the comments that you might receive this afternoon. And again, you receive a letter, but I'm planning to hopefully send my response to the initial comments hopefully today. But again, I will not be able to answer the questions of dissolving the special use district, because again, that's very prescriptive as to how they was formed. And I don't believe the board will have will be in the position to solve that, but we can check that with our legal counsel if that is the desire of the board for me to investigate the next steps. I think that is the context of the public testimony you might be receiving this afternoon.
Imagine that, and perhaps about the opening the schools again too, the county opening the schools. Go ahead, Commissioner Menzer.
So I don't know if your letter is going to encompass, I haven't looked at the emails about dissolving the district, but we had talked about the issue of the formation and the powers of the district. And I know you were intending to look at that. And I reached out to the Department of Ecology and tried to figure out if there was a specialist there that could help us. And we did find someone, but they haven't, we're kind of playing phone tag or something. I haven't actually gotten any substantive input from ecology on that. So my question is, what is the next? I really want that answer. I want that issue resolved, at least for myself, before I'm ready to vote. And so when is our decision point, or what's the timeline for making this?
I haven't seen the AIS yet, but probably late September, early October.
Okay.
But again, what are going to be offering to the citizen is copies of the resolution the board passed back in 2013, in which how step by step the special use district for Black Lake was formed. And that was reviewed by our prosecuting attorney at that time. And it was also what I believe it was given a perspective from the legal point of view to the Board of County Commissioners then. And again, that I'm going to be offering those documents to the citizens, in addition to other comments they received, they wanted to hear, at least answer those questions a little bit of a high level.
Was there an expression, and maybe I'll look at this myself when I see it, but was there an expression in those documents of why they intended to form the district and what they intended to do, or was it just kind of going through the statute and setting it up?
No, is in the formation of the resolution. And again, I hopefully can say that today is very specific, defining the purpose of this district. So is very prescriptive of the purpose itself, and I believe they're meeting the purpose and intent of that resolution.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Good, thank you. That takes us to agenda item number 2, which is the county manager's update. Following up, and also we have a resolution recognizing public health and social services staff.
Yeah, commissioners, I will be presented in front of you for your consideration, for you to pass a resolution recognizing the public health and social services staff. And it has 2 key elements, and I will elaborate a little bit more in detail this afternoon. But it's 2 actionable items via this resolution, where the Board of County Commissioners here resolved that the Board of County Commissioners and the residents of Thurston County express great appreciation and heartfelt gratitude to our public health and social services officials and staff for their selfless sacrifices and efforts to combat and respond to the unprecedented challenges facing our community as a result of the COVID-19. And also the Board of County Commissioners and the residents of Thurston County recognizes the value and dedication of our public health and social services officials and staff to the viability, economy, safety, and well-being of our community, both through their outstanding performance during this pandemic and through their general ongoing work to keep our residents healthy and our communities vibrant and thriving. So I believe Shelley Slaughter, the Director of Public Health and Social Services, will be in attendance, as well as Dr. Abdelmalik, and I hope many staff from Public Health and Social Services can zoom in and they can be part of that recognition.
Okay. Questions or comments? Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Commissioner Menser?
No, very well deserved. Thank you, Ramiro.
Absolutely. So thank you, Shelley. We'll see you this afternoon then too. Thank you, Reno. Takes us to agenda item number 3, which are the consent items A through F. And the first one, 3A, is the sheriff with the lease extension.
Yeah, you reviewed this item last week, Commissioner. The Sheriff's Office is requesting to extend a lease of 120 square feet office space. They lease inside of the West Thurston Regional Fire Authority, located on 18720 Sergeant Road Southeast in Rochester, Washington. And this office is to provide support in more efficient and responsive way related to patrol operations in South County. The rent will remain at $200 per month, $2,400 annually, and include all utilities. So again, it's for your consideration to approve the one-year lease.
Questions? I'm sorry. Any questions, commissioners?
No, sir.
No? No? Okay. 3B, Community Planning and Economic Development Reappointment to Agriculture Board.
Yeah, for your consideration, this was an application submitted for a reappointment of Mr. Robert McIntosh to the Agriculture Advisory Committee, and that will be for the term of October 1st, 2020 to October 1st, 2022. And I believe you have reviewed that application.
Yep. Any questions or comments? My seatmates?
No.
No? All right. 3C, District Court.
You also reviewed this item, Commissioners. District Court is requesting for you to consider establishing one full-time position for the Mental Health and Veterans and the Health and Veterans Court as a case coordinator. This has an end date of December 31st, 2021. And the reason for this request is the individual who is currently holding this position is in a military deployment, and that individual will not be back after that deployment until December 31st, 2021. So this is an attempt to meet the gap on on their current workload because is the other case coordinator is only 2, so it will not be able to keep up with the demands of this. And at this point, this position, this funding will be absorbed by district court, and there will not be request for additional budget authorization.
Okay. Any questions or comments regarding that topic?
A comment, just that I think it's very important we retain these jobs for our citizen soldiers when they're out serving our country. And it's a great program. All of our specialty courts are great, so I think it's well worth it.
Okay, any Commissioner Menser?
No.
Okay. 3D, Public Works.
You also review this item, Commissioners, and this is a request from Public Works to reclassified a position from a maintenance technician to a senior maintenance technician. The senior maintenance technician position plays a key role in the road maintenance activities and operates complex and specialized heavy equipment, such as vector trucks, lift trucks, pavers, graders, and asphalt and other vehicles. So the Public Works Department has been meeting this demand by just having somebody paid out of class, but that's really not sustainable. And by paying out of class, obviously with a higher compensation, the department likes to resolve this issue on a permanent basis, and this is the request for you to consider reclassifying this position. This goes from $5,161 per month to $5,690 a month. That will be a $520 a month increase or 10%. And again, this is going to be covered by the road fund, but I believe in a way it's going to be a wash because then they will not be able to pay somebody out of class to perform the same activities. And I believe Lucy Mills is here if you have any questions related to this item.
Any questions, Commissioners?
No, sir.
No? Okay, no, we don't. But thanks for joining us, Lucy. 3E is the voucher list. And do my seatmates have any questions regarding the vouchers?
No, sir.
No? And 3F. Okay, that was the for August 24th, and then the voucher list, the next one is for August 31st.
Yeah, because it's 2 weeks in a row since we didn't have a board meeting last week.
Right. And so I trust we've taken a good look at them. Agenda item number 4 is community planning and economic development and the contract with Eco Northwest.
Thank you, Commissioners. On June 16, 2020, the Board of County Commissioners approved the issuance of a request for proposals to secure the services of a consultant to perform an economic study related to the county's Habitat Conservation Plan, also known as the HCP. The RFP was advertised in the Olympian, and the county received a total of 3 proposals to complete this study. Eco Northwest proposal is scored highest in an internal review, and at this point, the department is requesting for you to consider awarding the contract to Eco Northwest for the total cost of $74,988, and also the department is asking for an additional 10% to cover any deviations of the contract. Chris Chapeau is here to give you additional perspective, but again, this is just the sequence of events I believe the board has taken to meet the requirements of the HCP.
Thank you for joining us, Chris. Do you have anything to add before we ask questions?
No, nothing to add. Romero covered it well.
Okay. Commissioner Menser, anything for Chris?
I feel like this is the 3rd time we're having this reviewed. Is there a reason for that, or is anything changed?
Commissioner, maybe what you recall is the grant, because you took an action to accept the grant on the same amount from the state to help us fund this. So perhaps that's what you're recalling.
Okay, no questions.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
No. Thank you, Chris. Agenda number 5A, this is Public Health and Social Services approving a shelter program grant.
So commissioners, with your indulgence, I will cover items 5A and 5B. Those are related.
Okay.
And this is related to the grant that we received from the Department of Commerce for $1,514,893 to be exact. And this is really to create additional shelters here in the county. And this particular initiative goes from August 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2023. So item 5A is for you to consider approving the agreement with the state to receive the grant with the Department of Commerce. And item 5B is for you to consider awarding the contracts to Family Support Center. They will increase 10 new shelter beds and adding new shelter space and its current location, located at 3545 7th Avenue, Southwest in Olympia. And the contract award for a Family Support Center will be for $627,250. And the next contract will be with Interfaith Works, where they're going to be creating 15 new shelter beds, and that will meet the requirements of the grant, because as the grant requires for us to create at least 25 new shelter beds. The contract with Interfaith Works is valued to $887,373. Again, item 5A is to accept the grant from the Department of Commerce of the state, and item 5B is to distribute those funds to those two providers that I just listed. Tom Webster is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, Tom. Do you have anything to supplement Romero's presentation?
Nope, that's an excellent summary as usual.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards, anything?
No, sir.
Commissioner Messer?
Nope.
Thank you, Tom. All right. Agenda item number 6, Public Works, resolution for non-exclusive franchise.
So in this particular item is a follow-up to the public hearing you held last week on September 8th in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon in this room, where you considered public testimony to accept an application for the Olympic Pipeline Company for a non-exclusive 10-year franchise to construct, operate, and maintain liquid petroleum products in Thurston County. As you heard from staff, Craig Season last week, this is a large utility that crosses just about the whole state of Washington. And what this franchise agreement addresses only where that utility crosses counties right away. It doesn't address any other aspects of the easements and private property. So the next step in the process after you took an action following the public hearing to accept the application is for you to consider a resolution to complete the non-exclusive franchise agreement with this facility, with this utility. And again, that's the steps that we have taken. And again, I believe this is the last step in the process, and Craig Season is here to correct me. And
all right, Craig, what say you?
This is the last step to granting the franchise upon approval today. If approved, it will move forward and we will be granting the franchise.
All right, thank you, Craig. Anything, Commissioner Messer?
No.
Craig or Romero? Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, granting that franchise, really that's what, renewing one that's been in place for 50 years or something, is that right?
That is correct. The original franchise was granted in 1964.
So ongoing activity, but no new pipelines.
Correct.
And that has been, thank you, maybe if I may add to this, you know, in the past, the county has exercised a long-term franchise agreements, such as this one, 50 years. And in 50 years, a lot of things change. And that is really is not fruitful for the county nor the utilities to have such a long contract. So this particular franchise agreement is for 10 years. I know that it takes a little work to go through this process, but I think it's meaningful to every year to touch base again and revise the terms and conditions of that agreement between the county and any utility. So kudos to you, Craig, for negotiating this franchise agreement.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
The next item says 6C, but it should be 6B, Bravo. We'll get that changed. And it's setting a public hearing for the closure of portion of 188th Ave Southwest.
So let me take you back, commissioners, to a letter the board received dated June 11, 2018 from the then chair of the Confederated Tribes of the Chehalis Reservation, in which the chair at the time made the argument that perhaps you may consider closure of 188 Avenue Southwest at the intersection of Moon Road. And this has a larger context because the Washington State Department of Transportation have plans to build 2 roundabouts along Highway 12, one at the intersection of Moon Road and the other one at the intersection of Anderson Road. By closing the through traffic of 188, that allows to eliminate the need to build the runabout at Moon Road and Highway 12, and also allow to manage the circulation more efficiently accessing their casino, which the main access to their casino is through Anderson Road. So the board responded to that request back in December 21st, 2018, agreeing to close this road and also to provide a turnaround and emergency vehicles cul-de-sac. And the letter to the chair of the Chehalis tribe included a couple of conditions. Let me read those conditions to you. One is to construct of the proposed roundabout and related improvements are completed at the intersection of US 12 and Anderson Road, as stated. Thurston County retains the right at its sole discretion to temporarily reopen 188 Avenue Southwest on an as-needed basis to provide for access during times of local flooding and other emergencies. And that was key. So before a road can be closed in a way permanently, the Board of County Commissioners needs to hold a public hearing where you receive public testimony from the citizens affected by this closure before you take an action on this. Matt Enselman is here to give you additional perspective and answer any questions related to this item.
Good morning, Commissioners. The only thing I would add is...
How are you, Matt?
I'm doing good.
No, who are you?
Oh, I'm Thurston County traffic engineer. Yeah, how do I recover from that? The only thing I have to add is that through the community engagement that we've done this far, we've had very little opposition to this proposed closure.
Okay. Commissioners, anything for Matt?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Thank you, Matt. That was fun.
Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye. Agenda item number 7 is the county manager's update. And then the commissioners will report on our work sessions, assigned committees and such. And then the county manager will review our schedule for the week. And then we move into a public hearing. The first one, A, is the information technology, our performance audit.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners. This is an opportunity for the public to provide some testimony or some feedback to you related to the IT security performance audit. It's been probably over a year ago when the county approached the state auditor's office to help us go through this performance audits and into our IT systems. It has been a long road and hard work, And I believe we found that we have good elements in place to provide security, and also we found some areas in which we can also improve, as may be expected. So it is a requirement by the state auditor's office that before this report can be finalized, you need to give the public the opportunity to look into and comment on the elements of the report. You had a couple of questions in the past about, is it really make sense to have a public hearing looking into an IT system security report? And you heard from Dennis Osorio, which is present today, our director of IT. This report is a very high level information. So Dennis is here again, if you have any questions related to this public hearing.
Dennis, you have anything to add?
Good morning, Commissioners. Dennis Osorio, IT Director. No, the only thing I'd touch on is security is always changing. So, I mean, it's that's a never ending fight that we'll be dealing with. You're constantly chasing new technology and the bad guys are out there trying to break things. So with any audit, you're going to have feedback where you find things that you need to fix. And I think this was just an example of us continuing to grow the county security posture. And we'll just continue to do that.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing that this afternoon. Commissioner Menser, anything? No. Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Great. Thank you, Dennis. We'll see you this afternoon. And the second public hearing is Public Works, a 6-year transportation improvement program.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Pursuant to RCW 36.81.121, the Board of County Commissioners is required to adopt a 6-year transportation improvement program each year. The department provided and formally presented to you, I believe over a month ago, in which the staff walked you through the elements of the transportation improvement plan. So the next step in the process is for you to allow the public to review this document and provide testimony and feedback to you. Eventually, this document will be adopted after the public hearing is held this afternoon. And you will have the opportunity to adjust based on the public testimony that you might receive during the public hearing. The approval of this document will be aligned with the approval of the overall county budget just about at the same time. And that's how has occurred in the past. The county engineer is the individual who is responsible for developing, managing, and implementing the transportation improvement program on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and to the services of Thurston County citizens. Scott Lindblom, our county engineer, is here to answer any questions.
Welcome, Scott. Do you have anything to add?
I do not. Well, just perhaps a little bit. This draft tip has been available to the public for public comment, to local businesses, community groups, and such. It has been on our Public Works website, and it was posted in the Olympian on September 4 and September 11. Thus far, we have received no comments.
No comments, okay. Commissioner Edwards, anything for Scott or Romero?
No, sir.
Commissioner Menser?
No.
Nope, okay. Thank you, Scott. Look forward to seeing you this afternoon then.
All right, thank you.
That concludes the agenda for this afternoon, September 15th. And we're going to move right into the agenda for next Tuesday, September 22nd. We'll call the meeting to order 2 o'clock and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Edwards, approval of the agenda and the minutes from today. Then an opportunity for the public to address the board, county manager's update, and then consent items 3A through G. And we'll start with A, and that's the treasurer, authorized sale of tax title property. Then we have Jeff Gavin, the treasurer, with us today. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Thank you. County Treasurer Jeff Gadman here. And I'm afraid I don't have a printout of today's agenda.
Hey, Jeff,
So,
allow me to frame the issue and then you answer any questions.
Thank you, Romero.
Would that be okay, Jeff?
Yes, that's fine. Please.
This item before you, and I believe the following 2 other items, this is related to RCW 3635-120, 3635-130, 3635-150, and County Code 2.105. which defines the authority of surplusing tax title property. In tax title property, just for the viewing audience, is when an individual who holds those properties fail to pay taxes and become delinquent properties. At the time the process goes, when that individual who owns the property fails to pay property taxes, they go through a foreclosure action, just in case if there is any other individuals who would like to purchase this property. That has occurred, and as a result, when they wouldn't have any individuals interested in purchasing this property, become a tax title. In the tax title, the county does not own this property. The county only has custody of this property for the citizens of Thurston County. A couple of years ago, the Board of County Commissioners authorized the Treasurer's Office to go ahead and systematically go through all the tax title properties and start surplusing either via individual negotiations or any other means allowed by law. So in this particular property, that is the case. This has been in a tax title since February 2017. There is a proposed sale, and you have a copy in your packet of the depicts all those properties are going to be talking with you. The first property is located within the city boundaries of Tenino. This property is 0.53 acres. It's encumbered by a wetland and also does not have access to that. So as a result, becomes an unbuildable property. There is an opportunity to sell this property, and the total cost of this property is for $12,263.50. In the past, the board has been interested in finding out what that really represents to the county in terms of the property taxes. If this process becomes part of the tax roll, most likely the assessed value of this property will be stated at $46,500, which will generate about $551 in taxes. What it becomes to the general fund will be about $55 as a result of this. So that's property number one, and Jeff is here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on that one?
No, sir.
Nope. Okay. Go ahead, Romero.
So the next property, and this is an interesting one. This is as a result of that development, they set aside for what they call the Treasure River Road, and this is located on Waddle Creek Road. It will be southwest of Tumwater. And this is crosses many properties. This particular property has been in tax title since 2014, and there is an opportunity to surplus this property to the underlying property owners, the abuts the property. And again, that's somewhat of a U shape as you see on your map. The total acreage of this is 1.43 acres, and it's expected to sell this property for $2,588.50, and that includes all the fees. And the potential property tax revenue to the general fund will be about $12.79.
Any questions? Nope. Okay.
I just want to add that this property and the next one, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had some inquiry from different neighbors down there in the Treasure River tracts. And that's why this property and the next one are going to public auction, because we believe there will be multiple people interested in purchasing these. So the competitive bid process makes the most sense.
Okay, that's good info. Thank you. And the last one.
And the last one is in the same vicinity as the previous property that you just discussed. and this is a 0.20 acres. And we're hoping to have a sale price of $2,962.50. And the potential tax generation to the general fund will be about $65.94.
Okay. Any questions of the county treasurer or county manager?
I would like to compliment the county treasurer on when he comes up with differentiating between putting it up for sale or putting it up for bid. I think that always makes it fairer to the public, and thank you for going over those like that.
You're welcome. You know, I never ever forget who's paying my salary. So
there you go.
Service to the public is important.
There you go. Thank you, Jeff.
And maybe if I to add, and I have to give kudos to the treasurer's office, in particular to Jeff and his leadership, because since the Board of County Commissioners authorized the treasurer's office to start surplusing systematically all the tax title properties, he and his office has done a fantastic job in addressing that. And if you've seen on the last 2 years, we have, you have taken an action in many tax title properties, where prior to the treasurer's office taking that responsibility, it was hit and miss. So kudos to you, County Treasurer.
Thank you, and I want to thank Eric Sullivan, the revenue officer in this office, for working so hard to get these back on the tax rolls.
That's always good. All right, thank you, and we'll see you down the road.
All right, thank you.
That takes us to 3D, and that is the sheriff's office, decreasing the sheriff's office change fund.
Yeah, for your consideration, the sheriff's office is requesting to decrease the sheriff's office change fund from $800 to $400. And this is no longer needed to have cash at hand, since most of the transactions are moving into an online system and the credit card use. So, any questions?
Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is not defunding the sheriff in any way, just by way of information. 3E, again, the sheriff.
This again, for your considerations to decrease another, that would be the Sheriff's Office Petty Cash Fund, and that will go from $200 currently to $100. And again, that is the reason as to there is not enough need to keep cash at hand, because most of the transactions are done electronically using credit cards.
Perfect. Any questions there?
No, nope. Sir.
3F, juvenile probation, court probation.
The same related items as the previous two. In this case is for you to consider abolishing the juvenile probation petty cash account. At this point, they don't see the needs to have this at hand, and everything is going to be done by electronic means.
Do you have any idea what they typically keep on hand?
On this one, I believe it's 500, but don't quote me on that one. I will get back to you on that one for next week.
Just wondering. All right, thank you. Any questions, gentlemen? No?
No, sir.
All right. 3G is the auditor's voucher list. We'll get that later in the week. And then department item number 4 is Superior Court.
For your consideration, Commissioners, this item is related to a renewal of the contract with Pierce County Alliance. Their contract with Pierce County Alliance to provide substance use disorder treatment services for the DUI and drug courts programs lapsed back in June 30, 2020. So the Superior Court is requesting for you to consider renewing the contract and with Pierce County Alliance for $178,271, and that will be for 2020, 2021. This will be covered by the Criminal Justice Treatment Account, CJTA, as it has been in the past. I have a couple of questions that I sent to Superior Court related to the procurement process. what has been, so this item may or may not be to your attention next week if I get those answers before then. But again, this is my questions related to this, the steps related to the procurement process mainly.
Well, thank you for your diligence in that area. My seatmates have any questions regarding this?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
My
Mike.
question would be maybe answered by Ramiro's questions later in the week, but yeah, I would just be wondering why, were they a low bidder at one point, or how did we land? How did they land as the provider and versus a local providers? And so
That's exactly the question that I asked this morning. Was it a bidding process, or they have gone through what I call a sole source? And as you know, we have a process as to how we can justify sole source. So I'm waiting for those questions to be answered, and I will bring back those to you next week if that is satisfactory.
Very good, thank you. Agenda item number 5 is Public Health and Social Services. 5A is approving the Medicaid Transformation 4-year funding from CPAA.
So this item is related to back in July 2018, Thurston County, in the Department of Public Health and Social Services submitted an application as a response to the request for proposals in the Medicaid Transformation Project, which is overseen by the Cascade Pacific Alliance, CPAA. The county was awarded $137,775. And this particular proposal was to identify 3 key areas, which is chronic disease prevention control, maternal child health, and opioid response. I believe this agreement is to extend the existing contract to, in order for us to continue to deliver the services. The extension of the contract will be until January 31st, 2020. And I believe the contract terms and conditions do not change. It just gives us more time to continue to implement and deliver the services based on the grant award. But Chris Hawkins is here to answer any questions or clarifying my statements.
Chris, do you have anything to add?
No, commissioners, Ramiro has covered that. And yes, we're just looking for the amendment here that would add the funds that allow us to continue our work on the Medicaid Transformation Project into 2021.
Okay, right. Seatmates have any questions of Chris Hawkins?
No, sir.
Chris, can you remind me of some of the activities that are involved in this project?
Certainly. Our Medicaid Transformation Project involves services primarily aimed at residents of Thurston County who are on Medicaid. And that has 3 different main project areas. One is opioid response and prevention. So we have some trainings that we provide with this funding on use of naloxone, for example. We also have a maternal child health project area within Medicaid Transformation, which is supporting expanded nurse-family partnership services in the region. And we have a chronic disease prevention component of it, and that really is aimed at providing the Living Well Thurston chronic disease self-management program, an evidence-based program that helps people action plan and learn skills to help manage their chronic conditions that they're living with better, leading towards better outcomes. All of that aimed at helping towards the triple aim of improved health outcomes at reduced costs and improving the quality of care in our community, quality of health care.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6 for next week is Public Works, and it's an ordinance to establish a complete streets policy.
Yeah, back in February 12, 2020, the department presented to you a completed street ordinance, which you approved related to specifically to the main street associated with the Rochester plan. As you may recall, the department introduced to you a series of cross sections to how they plan to revitalize the main street of, of the Rochester community. And as a result of that, they also, the staff, give you some perspective. They will bring back to you with an ordinance for you to implement completed street across the county, not just in the specific areas. The completed streets really allows the county to access additional funding sources, particularly from the Transportation Improvement Board. And this is, I believe, a good ordinance for you to consider. And again, that's a series of steps related to the completed streets that I believe you have been briefed in the past. Teresa Parsons from Public Works is here to add additional information and answer any questions.
Welcome, Teresa. Do you have anything to add?
I don't. I think Romero covered it well. Do you have any questions?
Commissioner Edwards, anything?
Yes. This is more than that Rochester area, right? This is a county-wide initiative, if you will. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes.
And is that why we didn't specifically name a particular area?
Yes.
And I guess when this comes up, if you could clarify that, I think it would be better for the citizens instead of having them wondering what it is. Is that
Sure.
okay?
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
I remember I mean, I'm supportive of this, and I would like, to get some of those Rochester projects going, if we can secure some of the money. But I remember when the board was presented with this, and I don't think it was me, it might've been Commissioner Edwards, I'm not sure. Somebody had a question about something, and it's been a while since we've seen this. So I guess, is there any recent revisions or ironing out of an issue that we should be aware of from the last time it was presented, which was, I want to say, at least 6 months ago, if not more?
Yeah, Commissioner, perhaps you remember my question related to the authority the county has in implementing road standards on the state highway.
Right.
Yeah, and that has been clarified. I believe staff from Public Works coordinated with Washington State Department of Transportation, and that's an allowable steps that we need to take. So this is really the result of that process, and the ordinance is in place, which if you pass this ordinance, then it's allow the county engineer to change the road standards to add the additional elements related to the completed streets. Perhaps that's what you're recalling, Commissioner.
I think that is what I'm recalling, and we can just adopt this at this point with one step. We don't need a public hearing or something.
No,
more.
I don't believe you need a public hearing. I mean, you can hold a public hearing on anything that you like, but it's not required.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Teresa. That will then we'll wrap up that BoCC meeting with the laundry list of stuff that we typically do, our calendars and report backs. And that concludes that agenda next week. It is 10:20, and we're going to take a 15-minute break. We'll be back at 10:35. Thank you. We're in a reset.
In 3, 2, 1.
Thank you. All right, welcome back to the agenda setting and work session for the Board of County Commissioners for September 15th, 2020. And one person I didn't introduce in the beginning is the clerk of the board, Amy Davis. So next on the agenda is advisory boards and commissions. And what do we have?
Good morning, Commissioners. Amy Davis, clerk of the board.
Is the microphone on?
No, they're muted. Just.
There you go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amy Davis, clerk of the board. This morning, you have one proclamation and one application included in your packet. The proclamation, again, is for National Preparedness Month for September 2020. There are a few minor grammatical revisions that will be made before 2 p.m. And the application included is for Robert McIntosh and will be included on the agenda for this afternoon based on last week's and this morning's discussion. That is all I have. Thank you.
Beautiful. Gary, anything for Amy?
Oh, Amy's doing a great job.
Ty?
No.
Nope, I agree. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes,
Amy.
she's doing a great job. No, nothing for.
PIO check-in. Megan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. I currently have 2 policies in the works. I'm making some adjustments to the draft e-signature policy based on a legal review, and I'll be getting that draft back to legal along with a draft authorization form by the end of this week. And then I'll also be submitting a translation and interpretation draft policy to legal by the end of this week as well. I've gotten feedback from the communicators across the county and gotten their feedback, and I'll make those adjustments and get it to legal this week. And then yesterday I met with Keely Marino and representatives from Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater around communicating the Regional Housing Council's activities. I'm going to be leading the communications effort for that group, along with support from Donna Feliciano with the City of Lacey. So I'll have updates for you as they occur. We're currently working on a news release to have it prepared for if the interlocal agreement is signed and approved. And then lastly, I'm continuing to provide PIO COVID response support through public health and the incident management team. So I still have a hand in that, and I'm working really closely with Megan Johnson, Shelley, and Dr. Abdelmalik. Pending any questions.
Any questions of Megan, Gary?
No, sir.
Ty?
She's doing good also.
Yeah. Thank you, Megan, very much.
Thank you.
Legislative update.
Yes, Commissioners. This week I have a meeting with Deborah Manguia to start forming the legislative agenda to bring a proposal to you. So, and again, we're going to be discussing some of the items with her. And when that time comes, maybe in the next 2 weeks, we'll formally present a draft and give you the opportunity to comment and add any particular items you would like to be introduced on the 2021 legislative session. We're going to be discussing the opportunity in the past when you have unveiled your legislative agenda. You have asked some of the local legislators to come and have a breakfast. Obviously, that's not going to be possible, so we're going to be looking for alternatives as to how you will have the opportunity to share the county's legislative agenda with the local legislative delegation.
All right, anything, commissioners, regarding this?
No, sir.
No.
No, okay. Thank you. A public hearing decisions pending?
None.
None. Now we're getting into the meat of it. Commissioner items. The first is executive order, payroll tax deferral.
Yeah, and thank you for the patience. The county auditor, Mary Hall, is here. She will elaborate on this item. And this is related to the executive order President Trump issued back in August 2020 related to deferral of payroll taxes. So, Mary, take it on.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. So I'm sure you're aware that the president issued an executive order that gives businesses the option to defer payroll taxes. And, I've met with my staff. We also had a financial management committee meeting yesterday where this was on the agenda. And I sent you a letter, hopefully you all have it, which outlines the reasons that we feel that this is not a good idea for Thurston County. This is not a forgiveness of the taxes. It is simply a deferral. Employees would begin paying them back in the first quarter of next year. To defer taxes would actually put the county at risk, because should an employee leave employment and they had deferred taxes, we would be liable for those taxes, and essentially it would be a loss of public funds. According to Maria Aponte, in an informal conversation with the unions, they did not support this either. So I don't see any good reason why we would want to do this. Also, our payroll system, the way that it is configured and the way that it works, it would either have to be all or nothing. It could not selectively be done for individual staff. It would have to be the entire county or none of the county. As the auditor, I am responsible for protecting county funds, and I think to do something like this would be a risk. So I respectfully ask that you don't take any action, and that I ask for your concurrence that we do not defer payroll taxes.
I would point out on this, I'll get you right in a moment, Robin, that it's stated in your letter that guidance from MRSC and the Summit Law Group is that we do not defer the collection as well.
That is correct. That's correct.
Okay. Robin?
I was just going to add that I've been unable to find any jurisdiction, including looking at other states, that has implemented this.
Okay.
We have also pulled other counties and cities, and no one is doing that.
Has any of the associations taken a stand on it?
We have discussed at the Washington State Association of Counties and the administrative level, and based on our perspective, none of the counties have taken this action. And in fact, some of the counties have taken an action not to opt in.
Okay. Commissioner Mincer, any questions or comments, clarifications?
I didn't see a letter, and I don't know why I missed that. But
Is attached,
based on the,
attached in your packet, Commissioner, perhaps?
oh,
Maybe it's the last page of this administrative, procedural, and miscellaneous.
got it. I was going through email, seeing where I missed it.
No, sorry, hard copy to you.
Okay, based on the information that I was just presented, I'm in agreement with the auditor.
Gary?
I just have a question. Was the intent of this for private small businesses to not have to have as much capital outlay? Was that what was going on here? Was it directed towards government entities?
So it was, I think that the intent was to provide relief to employees. They would have more money in their paycheck now, but when they start having to pay it back, not only would they go back to paying the base tax, but they'd have to pay back the deferred tax. So their paychecks in January and during the payback period would be even less than normal. And that's the negative impact on the employee.
At first blush, it looks like if they are unable to pay it back, interest and penalties accrue.
To the employees as well as to the county, if the employee leaves.
Yeah.
Right. This was not a, let's say it was not a well thought out.
Terrible.
It's like no good
Sounds
deed
like the
goes
campaign
unpunished.
team came up with this, not the financial team.
Got it, okay. Well, if my seatmates have any questions or comments, go ahead, but I'm done with it.
So do I hear a concurrence from the board on the recommendation from the finance FMC and the auditor?
What did legal say about it? Do we get any legal jeopardy, or do we have any problems from legal?
I think the
No, there are
legalities-
no problems from legal.
Okay.
This is really, should have been an auditor decision because it doesn't deal with budget or anything like that. So it's simply a matter of, do we defer taxes and then bill the employees after the first of the year? And it would create a risk for the county. And as auditor, I strongly suggest we don't do that. And the Financial Management Committee was in concurrence.
Okay.
Well, if this is your decision, then thank you for bringing it to our attention, but I support your decision.
Yeah, there you go. Auditor decision. I like it.
Well, but I won't shirk it. Say heck no. All right. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Number 2 is Sentinel Lands and HCP. And we have a letter.
CPED staff is here and attached to your document is a memo. And this is an effort that I believe Josh and his staff has taken a great opportunity they saw when the Lewis McCord base was going through the process of assessing Sentinel lands related to their needs on related to the protected species. And I just want to premise the fact that this is a set of excellent news, and I believe the result of that is really the diligence that Josh and his staff has gone through this process just to find ways to minimize the financial impact as we implement the Habitat Conservation Plan. That's my introductory comment, Josh.
Thank you, County Manager. That's right on. And so what we wanted to be able to do was provide the Board of County Commissioners an opportunity to hear just briefly the great work and partnership that our team has done with Chris Chapeau and Jennifer Davis, and recognizing that we're the Thurston County government and our citizens are not the only ones that have an impact from the listing of the Endangered Species Act on the local species. The military JBLM also has their concerns that they need to mitigate for activities at JBLM. But being able to find the places where those two activities can work together is exactly what Chris and Jennifer have been engaged in with the federal government. So this is Sentinel Lands. It is a federal program, and I'll hand it over to Chris and Jennifer to provide some details and then answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Josh. So Jennifer Davis, Community Planning Manager. I'll just give you a quick update run through exactly what the memo covers, which is what the Sentinel Landscapes partnership is, how Thurston County is involved, and what our participation really brings to the county and how it benefits us. So Sentinel Landscapes is the name of a national program that promotes working lands and protects wildlife and ensures military readiness. So it's a collaborative initiative of the federal departments of Defense, Interior, and Agriculture. And there are several of these partnerships across the U.S. It's not just here. But the goals of our local partnerships center around maintaining sustainable military operations at JBLM, as well as supporting a vibrant local agricultural economy and effective conservation of rare species and habitats. So here in Thurston County, local partners involved in this are JBLM, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, Thurston Conservation District, Center for Natural Lands Management, Capital Land Trust, and South of the Sound Community Farmland Trust, as well, of course, as Thurston County. And we, the county, have been involved in this partnership since it started back in 2013. The work really picked up after a summit in March of 2019, where there was a local summit of partners, or was it March of 2020, in an effort to develop an implementation plan and lay out some local actions that we all could work together and collaborate to achieve. And I'll talk about those in a minute. So staff from both WSU Extension and CPED, Chris Chapeau and Josh primarily, participate in the partnership. And our job is to really focus on ensuring that the actions and strategic focus of the partnership align with our county goals and the interests of our citizens. For example, county staff have worked to ensure that supporting local working lands is a priority of the partnership. And I know the Agriculture Advisory Committee Chair also attends local partnership meetings and participates in the discussion. So recent work has included approving an implementation plan, which lays out a number of local actions that are really complementary to Thurston County's efforts to conserve and support working lands and complementary to our habitat conservation plan. For example, some of these actions include developing an opportunity map of conservation lands, finding willing sellers, willing participants in conservation easements, for example, providing opportunities to combine forces and do some joint outreach to landowners about conservation opportunities and incentive programs, and forming a land acquisition work group. So we can work together and sort of align our complementary and parallel needs to find conservation opportunities locally. So this is helpful to Thurston County because it also provides us access to federal funding streams. So there is money to be had through this partnership to help us implement our conservation objectives, including securing easements in support of our HCP. So with that, that's a quick overview, but staff is here. We're happy to answer questions from you. Chris Chapeau is here and knows more of the details. She's a participant actively in the partnership. So I'll leave it to the board to ask any questions.
And I just say one more quick thing. The reason we're here is just tell us to keep going. We're working on making sure that things in the HCP are, we're not resting on our laurels waiting for the federal government to tell us what we need to do. We know what we need to do. It's approved in the HCP. We've got working lands as a program. So this is just an example of CPED and community planning in particular going forward and not stopping. So this is a good thing.
This is awesome. And looking at the last, the future potential, I think is exciting. That's cool stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4 bullets under that, the future coordination potential. Seatmates, Gary, you have any questions or comments?
Yes. Is this going to allow us to work on maybe getting some grant funding to purchase conservation easements and possibly development rights? And kind of I'd refer down to the Nisqually Valley some years back. Some development rights were purchased there to maintain that open area. Is there going to be the potential that we'll be able to get something going like that?
The short answer is, excuse me, yes. This particular partnership allows us to have access and find additional funding, be it through the federal government, the state government, or their partners in nationwide grant competitions. Those funds typically can be used for development right acquisitions, like our PDR program, which is purchase of development rights, which the county does have code for, so we could move forward with doing those sorts of things. We can match some of that money with county funds or with other NRCS USDA funds. So the short answer is yes.
I guess in a follow-up to that, I know one of the things we ran into on the conservation end of things was Section 6 money could not be intermingled with other funds to benefit that whole mitigation process. That basically came from Interior Department, Interior Policy, which conflicted with the Department of Agriculture at the federal level. So are we kind of getting around that so we can all play ball to benefit our communities without those kind of goofy restrictions in there?
So I would say that we're not necessarily getting around it, but our team is definitely building partnerships and pathways that are allowable under federal, state, and local regulations.
And the state and the feds are both actively involved at different levels all through this, right?
Correct, definitely.
Okay, thank you. Good briefing.
Ty, go ahead.
Are there is it meet monthly or quarterly or something? Is there a Zoom meeting I could sit in and sort of see what's going on and what's discussed and who's there? Could somebody provide
Absolutely.
that?
There is a monthly Planning Implementation Committee meeting, which I just had to bounce out of this morning to attend this meeting. But I can most definitely send the standing meeting to you and Thomasina so that it can be on your schedule and you can attend the next one. If you are going to attend, it would be great if I could announce it to the group.
Are they usually on Tuesday mornings though?
They are.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Let's consider the next ELG meeting, the executive leadership group for the board.
Sure.
Very nice.
I guess just maybe to comment, so my seatmates know, I've attended some of these meetings and they're well worth it. And they really do appreciate policy setters from the different entities that are able to participate, and it makes a difference.
Oh, very good. All right, well, thank you very much. Do you need anything else from us? Is this just an update?
Just wanted to make sure you're, update.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it because I've heard about it at the ag meetings and whatnot, but I didn't really understand I'd never seen it presented so I actually had a context of what it was. So thank you.
Go forth. You're doing great work. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, Josh, and Chris. All right. Number 3 is deferral of county impact fees, a discussion and direction.
Yeah, Commissioners, you may recall maybe a couple of months ago, you received a letter from the Thurston County Chambers where outlined some opportunities as to how the county can probably take actions to revamp the economy as a result of the COVID-19. They provided a couple of items. One is to, obviously have a full staffing levels at the CPAD to process permits, which Josh and his staff are working diligently to do that. And one of the items was the deferral of of impact fees as an overall. In any type of development, there is impact fees associated with those developments, which includes the school impact fees, fire impact fees, traffic impact fees, park impact fees, is a slew of different impact fees. Obviously, the county is the one who collects those fees and distributes it to those individuals or to those groups and districts who may be in need to utilize those fees as a result of those developments. So there's the deferral of county impact fees is really the conversation. The staff is going to be providing to you. This is not all the impact fees because we don't have any leverage to have the school districts having to defer those impact fees down the road or have fire impact fees, for instance, to ask the fire districts to defer those impact fees. I think we approached them, and the feedback that we received is perhaps there's not interested in doing that, but certainly here's an opportunity for the impact fees the county has jurisdiction over for the board maybe considering some actions to take. Josh, Brett?
Thank you, County Manager. Yes, that's a great setup. I'd also just maybe quickly describe the deferral of impact fees. So the impact fees, as the County Manager relayed, are specifically just now narrowed down to the traffic and park impact fees. And the deferral would be the process. Currently, we collect the impact fees at the time of the building permit. And then you go back with your building permit and you do all your construction, and then you have your certificate of occupancy. You come back and get that from the county to show that you did all the building right. Right now, we collect the impact fees at the building permit. This deferral would be deferring it to the certificate of occupancy. That's the nuts and bolts of the request. And so the fees are they go to Public Works. We've engaged with Public Works on this process. We could write a draft ordinance to create a blanket policy deferring the impact fees. But it's also, as we've discussed previously, we have this currently in code where applicants can request it on a case-by-case basis to defer their impact fees on their projects. And so, you know, we're kind of in this balancing area. Oh, the other part that we've discussed in the past is that to date, under my leadership as the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development, I have not yet received a single request to defer the impact fees at this time. And so I'm balancing this need to ensure that our staff is focused on reviewing plans and permits, but also to be responsive to the business community and their requests for how we can update our processes. And I was thinking very clearly about their request and trying to figure out a path forward. And let me read real quickly a portion of the letter from David Schaffert, the CEO of the Thurston Chamber of Commerce. And this might help get to a potential recommendation from staff to the board. So he says, the deferral will be particularly supportive for larger commercial multifamily projects in the county's UGA. The carrying cost of fees during the construction of larger projects is significantly more than single family housing. And so that got me thinking, perhaps what CPED needs to do, instead of changing all of our umbrella processes for the deferral of impact fees, perhaps myself and Brett need to be more proactive to the larger business community and provide them the guidance on how to apply for these items on a case-by-case basis. So instead of burdening the staff with a process change, perhaps it's on me as leadership to be more proactive in communicating the tools that we already have to those larger multifamily projects that the CEO of the chamber mentions. So that would be kind of my recommendation, would be at this point. I'm open to direction from the board, but that's where I'm coming from.
All right, thanks. Brett, did you have anything to add?
No, Josh summarized it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, Ty?
I'm supportive of Josh's suggestion.
Gary?
Yes, I would like to make sure that not only do the larger developments become aware of what is available to them on delaying impact, but David commented it has more of an impact on the larger developments. Well, that might be true, except the individual homeowner, when they're struggling to do things, I really think it would be beneficial to them as well. So I'd like to make sure that all of our applicants know that this would be available to them. And I'm not so sure that we don't have the authority to delay that impact fee for the schools and fire and such. I don't think it lays it out in those directions that when we have to collect for each one of those separate entities, even though we're the collection agency. So I would like to make sure that we're giving every home builder the benefit of the doubt so that we're not hanging on to their money for a year. And then when we, issue an occupancy permit, they pay up right at that point in time. They get to hang on to their money for that year rather than us. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
That guidance is heard. Thank you. That's a good point.
And I echo that everybody should be informed as what the options they have open to them. Then they'll decide whether that's beneficial to them or not. As for the fire district or schools, whether we have the authority or not, I don't want to put them in because their own budgeting, I don't want to put them in the precarious position of just telling them we're going to delay the fees to the end. So with due respect and deference to the fire and the schools, I'm okay with just doing the county impact fees. Did the OMB weigh in on this too? Didn't they? Or was it just the Thurston Chamber?
So the request was from the chamber. The OMB sits on the business outreach committee. I can't remember what it's called with the chamber, and they've been a participant in the discussion.
Okay.
The OMB, it might help you because I was getting confused and I was just referencing my notes. The OMB weighed in on the delay of the rate increases for the impact fees. And we addressed that and we debated that and we accommodated that, I think, largely. This is different. This is whatever the rates are, delaying when you have to make the payment. So they're related and confusing, but not exactly the same issue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good recollection, good recall.
No kidding.
I only because I write things down and I was just looking back at my August 18th notes and I kept the letter from OMB that I'd made notes on. Yeah, so it was pretty confusing, but yeah. Sounds good. I agree with Hutch on the school districts. I mean, it may be that we have the authority, but my notes from August 18th said that we reached out to them and we didn't get a positive response. I think there was kind of no response, or we certainly didn't get any concurrence that they would support that. And I don't know if that's changed since August 18th, but I would want to make sure we're working with them on that.
Did that change?
No, the chamber representative, Doug Mott, did reach out to those other jurisdictions, and that has not changed, that they are less than interested.
Okay, got it.
Romero, did you have anything to add at this point?
No, commissioners, that was perhaps the recommendation is there is an option in the code. Any applicant can take that. And I think it's a good practice to, inform not just the big developers, but also the individual property owners who try to build their homes of those options. And that is a good guidance, I believe, and we'll continue to make those options available to any applicant here in the county.
Very good. Josh, you got what you needed?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Brett, thank you very much for joining us. Now, the next is, don't go away.
Don't go away.
Permit deadline extension.
Yeah, you may recall that due to and this is also a request for the OMB, I believe, early in the year, who requested the board to consider, delaying the deadlines for some specific permits. You took an action. I believe that expires at the end of September. The delay that you implemented. And the conversation today will be whether you like to stop that delay or continue with additional time frame. So Josh, Brett.
Thank you, County Manager. This is another prime example of how quickly the Board of County Commissioners and CPED was able to react in terms of trying to stabilize the economy during the COVID response. The board voted in March to have this extension of expiration go from March 12th to September 30th. OMB, the Olympia Master Builders, had earlier suggested that it go until July 30th, but the board and CPED took action to extend that even further than what was requested. So this is a success story, but as Romero stated, it will expire on September 30th. And so the request from CPED is for the Board of County Commissioners to extend this at a length of your choosing. And I have reached out to OMB. They have relayed that multiple contractors have used it and it is appreciated, and that any extension would be appreciated from the Board of County Commissioners.
Go ahead, Romero.
So the recommendation is for you to consider to extend it through the end of the year.
That's what I'm going to ask. What seems reasonable?
Yeah, December 31st, 2020. And then then the board in January will assess the effectiveness of this, and then we'll bring this item again to consider future actions.
Gary, thoughts on that recommendation or suggestion?
No, that's, I think that's where I was at back in March, so I'm all for it. Thank you very much.
Ty?
I don't necessarily have a problem, but in March, residential construction was shut down. And now, as we entered phase 3 and then the governor opened up guidelines for home construction, I guess I'm wondering, is there a problem now? I thought that home construction was, and contractors were able to operate fairly normally with, as long as they follow the social distance guidelines that the state issued.
I think that there's kind of an echo effect. That shutdown, was a shutdown, and it created kind of a backlog.
Yeah.
And we are still experiencing some level of delay as we're trying to work through that backlog. So I do think it continues to be important.
Okay, well, I'm perfectly willing to accept that. I just want to make sure that it's, that there's a basis for what we're doing, because like I say, I was hopeful that those types of activities were going on fairly unimpeded, and the economic impacts in Thurston County haven't been draconian just yet. Hasn't hit us with the force that we expected back in March when we raced to do this and to take this action. So I guess we just keep our eyes on it, but I don't have a problem, I guess, till the end of the year.
And I think this is a very good policy.
Okay, so based on what I'm hearing, I will ask staff to submit an AIS for a future board action on this matter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Brett.
If you guys have any comments, even if it's anecdotal from OMB or any sort of support that you could offer at the time that you present this and that we present it to the public for vote, just so folks can understand that there's a foundation for what we're doing, based on what the conditions are out there right now.
Yeah, acknowledged. Thank you. We'll reach out and get a more formal statement from our partners externally.
Very good. All right, public testimony.
I don't have anything specifically, but again, depending on the public testimony that you might receive and the response that I plan to submit related to the Black Lake Special Use District, I may follow up with that this afternoon.
Okay. My seatmates have anything regarding public testimony?
No, sir.
I don't. Okay. Commissioner items. Ty, I'll start with you if you have any.
I have a few things that I don't think I want to bring today for discussion, because Ramiro sounds like he's working on some of them, and I will wait and see kind of how that unfolds. So a couple things that were on my list, I'm going to delay for maybe next week if necessary.
I just have one. Gary, do you have something you don't want to bring up?
Nope, I'm going to be in lockstep there with Commissioner Menser.
Okay, well, the only item I have, it came up last week with the mayor's luncheon, or not luncheon, but Zoom. And it was regarding the fairgrounds again, and opening it up. It wasn't so much about opening up. It wasn't mentioned opening it up to for the homeless, but it was surrounding how many Amazon cars that were to this private company, that were leasing the parking lot to, how many cars, and who negotiated that contract, and how long is that going to go on, and that type of stuff. Is that anything you can share regarding that?
You asked me that question?
Yeah, that's you, Romero.
Yeah, I don't have the details of those questions, but certainly I can get back to you.
That's all, yeah. The length of the lease and how many vehicles and such. Ty?
I did think of something. I was wondering if Ramiro could, I think Ramiro was attending there was going to be sort of an ad hoc committee coming out of Law and Justice Council. Yeah. And I hadn't heard a peep out of whether that meeting occurred, and if it did, what came out of it.
Yeah, I was hoping to bring that overall perspective tomorrow when you have that conversation related to racial justice, racial equity tomorrow. And I think I will globalize that conversation because there's so many aspects that have a nexus. So just to answer your question, I don't want to be disrespectful of your question. Yes, we did have an initial meeting. It was a great meeting. The result of that meeting was going to be to start looking at some data, to start have some meaningful conversations. And I believe the follow-up meeting is scheduled for next week for the subcommittee. But again, I'll give you additional detail tomorrow when we have a conversation with the board related to racial equity and the steps that we're taking.
Thank you.
So tomorrow, I have a conflict with our Board of Health special Board of Health meeting and the Board of Health special meeting regarding racial equity and that briefing. What I plan on doing is attending a Zoom meeting during the Board of Health special meeting and then jump out of that. And so I'm there for the racial equity briefing. Is that, will that suffice? Will that be acceptable to my seatmates?
I believe we'll have a quorum. Yeah.
As long as you have a quorum, I just want to be sure.
So the first meeting that you will miss, does somebody have the agenda handy or can tell me what's on that agenda? I know we have to authorize Dr. Yu as our backup. Was there something else that we were covering in that earlier part?
Yeah, give me just a minute and I'll walk you through.
While you're looking that up, on behalf of WASAC, there's a professional development committee meeting tomorrow at 1:30 for an hour and a half. So if I'm able to at least do 30 minutes of it, that will be helpful to them and to me.
Yeah.
And I can jump out.
I just want to say this is just informational. The reason that I'm stating this is because you're not reviewing the agenda since we needed to have a special meeting for the Board of Health to formally review the agenda. You reviewed this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm just going to walk you through as a informational only related to a question the Commissioner Messer asked. So you have a proclamation related to the Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. The next item is a resolution appointing an alternate local health officer. In this case will be Dr. Diana Yu. And then the last item is for you to consider setting a public hearing on the smoking and vaping in public places. And that public hearing, if you approve, is scheduled to be in October 13, 2020. And those are the only items that you have. And then you will have obviously the health officer report as well as the public health and social services director report.
Oh, that'll build the 30 minutes in then. I thought it'd be too short and too.
No, that's easily going to take more than 30 minutes.
Okay. So if that's acceptable, then I'll miss the Board of Health special meeting, but I'll be there for the briefing on racial equity. I'll jump in at 2 o'clock. And I'll be here anyway.
One more thing, since Robin's on this call, Robin, did you happen to be in the WASAC thing yesterday at noon? I just wanted to share, I know Hutch was there, but it caught my attention that we were discussing CARES funding, like it was kind of the rolling topic for that Monday noon meeting. And again, I know we're doing our best to get everything lined up by the November 30th deadline, but there was a suggestion from Melanie or one of the folks that kind of tracks this stuff, that if you had something that wasn't going to get spent, if you had a concrete spending plan that was going to be spent by the end of December, they thought that was going to be acceptable. The main thing was that the state wants to make sure that if money's not going to be spent, that they have time to reallocate it. If you can show them something concrete that you're going to be spending it by the end of December, they encouraged us to keep plowing ahead on that. So I just wanted to share that in case we get in a situation where a big chunk of money can't get quite done by November 30th, but we know what we're doing with it.
Thank you for sharing that. One of the things I noticed is the new money that came in through the Department of Health does have a December 30 deadline. It's the money that is coming to the county that's discretionary that is now November 30th. So I think we might be able to negotiate something with OFM through Commerce, but we're working on how to spend it. I also noticed that Congress is coming out with a compromise bill out of a moderate caucus that has representatives from both sides of the aisle. And there is some hope that will move, and that would include an extension of the time to spend. So we'll see if that goes anywhere.
Very good.
And related to that, Commissioners, next Tuesday morning, I will have enough time for you to discuss the CARES money based on the Friday's initial decisions you made. There's additional decisions that perhaps you need to take as a result of new information that is coming up.
Very good.
The difficult
anything?
difficult position for the board to be in is spending the money in such a short
Yeah.
period of time.
Yeah.
Gary, you have anything for the good of the order?
No, sir.
Ty? No. Robin? No. Romero, anything further?
No, sir. Thank you.
Nor do I. This meeting is adjourned, and we will be back at 2 o'clock for the BoCC meeting. Thank you very much.